Hey, how you doing? I guess we're live. Is that crooked? Is it on there?
Nope, I cannot see
Okay.
it.
So this is our first time doing a live feed. I'm glad you guys are attending, and if you would, if you have any questions throughout the talk, just go ahead and post those on the Facebook feed, and we'll have Holly ask those. And if you would go ahead and let us know where you're from, that's also helpful. Okay. So. Couple things. This will be recorded so you guys can look at it later too. And then all our slides that we're going to talk about are also online at slideshare.net/Patrick Garrett and the number 7. Is that okay? Is that? I'm sideways. All right. Let me see what we can do here. I don't know how to make this the other way. So is this? It really is sideways. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Okay, just a second. Hey, will you get this? Okay. And then we can just put that across, I think. Because this thing doesn't turn or anything. Like that. Yeah, maybe around. Sorry about this, we're having technical difficulties. So we're going to try this and see if that works. Yeah. Okay. Problem solved. Does it look okay? So,
It's a little bit of a delay.
okay. So, a few things is I want to let you know that we have some themes that we're going to do each week. And so we're going to continue with the live feeds every Tuesday. And then we might have some Thursday or some pre-recorded ones. But Mondays, just kind of expect that we'll have Meme Mondays. So we'll put out some really interesting information for you. And then Tuesdays, we'll do our live streams at 6:30. And then Wednesday, we'll talk about kind of shocking things that are in the news or concerns about like what they're doing to our food, those kind of things. Thursday, we'll have this Thursday, which is we'll talk about the latest good stuff, all the news, research that's coming out. And then Fridays, we'll have Feedback Fridays, and that's where we're going to actually talk about, have patients give testimonials about people that are chronically suffering and have healed themselves, and maybe some case study presentations. So it'll be Feedback Friday. So that'll be fun for you guys. And then at the end of this, what we'll do is I pulled some stuff from the refrigerator, just stuff that's in the office here, not my stuff, other people's stuff. And we'll read some ingredients too. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the toxicity within things that we should look for and what they mean and how toxic they are within reading labels at the grocery store, even the health food stores sometimes. And we will look at some things that are actually pretty good and some things that are actually pretty bad. I'm going to move this just a little bit there. It looks like a little crooked there. Okay, so it's almost as crooked as the pharmaceutical company. All right. Ba-da-ching. Okay, so for those that you that don't know me, I practice functional medicine. I practice in Wichita. I'm board certified in functional medicine, board certified in clinical nutrition. Actually, 2 board certifications in that, and board certified in integrative medicine. And so we have patients all around the world, all around the country, and we just kind of take the Mayo failures or people that nothing's worked on, and we help them reverse their conditions. So, let's get started here. So you can download these slides, and actually we'll have Holly put in the link too. Do you know what that is? This one here? The slideshare.net, Patrick Garrett 7. So she'll put that in the feed, and then you guys can download these too or view them online if you want. So our first ingredient that we want to talk about is really petroleum. And interestingly enough, a lot of the chemicals that we have created that make things taste like food, smell like food, it's not food. It's from gasoline actually, or more appropriately, coal tar, which is one of the most toxic things. And it's also the first thing that we use to create cancer in laboratory settings. So while the rest of the world said, "Oh my God, we're going to ban that stuff. We don't want sick people," America said, "Heck yeah, that's cheap. Nobody wants this stuff." So we started making all kinds of things from the 60s and integrated this with our food. And we'll talk about what those are. So the first thing is artificial colors and flavors. You'll see these in all kinds of things. They're flavor enhancers, color enhancers. And basically they've shown that if you make things look better, people buy them more. And with that, we end up ingesting all kinds of colors and flavors that are made from petroleum. For example, there's a study in 2010 that said that yellow food coloring decreases brain neurite growth by over 3,000%. Blue by 5,000%, and that means green is about 8,000%. And these are the artificial colors that we add to enhance things. So old school pickles, which were just vinegar and water and some salt. Nowadays, we have food coloring in there to make the pickles look greener. And because of that, sales go up, but health goes down because of that. And then if you look at something like MSG, which is a flavor enhancer extracted from seaweed. In seaweed, MSG makes us smarter. When we extract it out and we actually put it in higher amounts in food as a flavor enhancer, we create brain addiction, but the reality is what we do is we end up causing instant brain cell death. So MIT published a study that said the moment MSG hits your brain cells, it causes instant cell death. And so research in 2010 collaborated with that, or correlated that, or corroborated that, I guess, and showed that it actually decreased brain neurite growth by 8,000%. It literally makes us dumber. And so when you think of those flavors, those are in kids' cereals, in crackers, sodas, juices, a lot of stuff that are going to be targeted towards young adults and kids. And Kraft macaroni, they just finally took that yellow food coloring out. But even back in, a year ago, macaroni was making kids dumber. And so when you look at America, where we went from one of the most intelligent countries in the world to now we're down to somewhere around the 14th to the 28th smartest country, that's pretty bad. But it's not a surprise. When you know these chemicals, it's no longer, wow, that's weird. It's, yeah, of course. We should be dumber because of this. A couple other ones is buttering, is artificial butter. And on the 50-gallon barrels that they ship that in, they literally have a sticker on that says harmful if swallowed. Mapeline, fake maple syrup, same thing. Fake vanilla is vanillin. And so you can see that on ingredients. You might save $1 by buying gasoline that's converted into vanilla flavor, but you're getting dumber because of that, and you're destroying your family because of that. So regardless of what we did in the past, now that we know these things, we need to really look at the labels. And it takes a lot. Really, once you know this stuff, going to the grocery store, it's a lot of label reading. But once you get used to those products and you know that these are real ingredients, then you don't have to worry so much about that. And when we look at these foods that I pulled from the clinic's refrigerator, we can see the difference between real actual food. So we can produce real food, preserved by real things, preserved the freshness by real things. And we can see the ones that are just horribly toxic. The other thing is petroleum products that are directly petroleum. And mineral oil or baby oil is one of the most toxic of those. And so it sounds good, but it's actually detrimental. It screws up your hormones, like a xenoestrogen, and then it also increases your risk of cancer. It messes up your hormones. It's horrible for babies, let alone adults. Paraffin, petrolatum, and even waxed paper. So, like in our house, we use non-paraffin wax paper, which allows us to, not stick to stuff, but also we don't have the petroleum in there to mess us up too. Let's see. So the other petroleum product that we want to talk about too is looking for artificial sugars. And interestingly enough, when you look at coal tar, it can be converted into benzene, which is that flammable part of gasoline that you smell at the gas pump. If we take benzene, we can oxidize that into things like toluene, which is paint thinner. So BHT or BHA, TBHQ, you've seen those maybe before in processed foods, and we got one from the fridge that actually has that. That T in there is toluene, that's paint thinner. So if you put a little bit of paint thinner, we can preserve things dirt cheap, but of course we're drinking paint thinner. If you look at something like aspartame, neotame, acesulfame, those are actually all those AIMs, and they're changing the name to sweet aminos for aspartame to try to get away from the detrimental name that we're all getting used to with that, with aspartame. But those are made from formaldehyde. So they take benzene and convert it to formaldehyde. But the messed up part about this is that when you eat those artificial sugars, they convert back to formaldehyde at 87 degrees. So if they didn't convert in the truck on the way to the store, by the time they hit your bloodstream, they're converting back to formaldehyde. And of course, that formaldehyde doesn't make us, look better and age slower. It literally destroys our immune system. So much so that if you look at slides, and we have these in some other ones on that slide share, but fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, right? So from 1880 to 1980, no fibromyalgia. We had other muscle inflammatory diseases, myositis kind of things, but not fibromyalgia. In 1980, it's had a sudden spike, and it went like that. Almost all autoimmune diseases did. And all those T-cell dysregulations, which is part of molecular mimicry, they're all connected to the chemicalization of our food, especially formaldehyde. So in 1984, when we saw a sudden epidemic of a new disease with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and also lupus and Sjogren's and rheumatoid, you'll notice that that's when they put aspartame into Diet Coke for the first time. Americans were consuming about 150 pounds of sugar a year. We started getting fatter as a population. So keep drinking your sugar, and we'll just give you some fake sugar in your soda now. And all of a sudden, we mess up the immune system. So again, no surprise. We knew that from the studies. We see that with the epidemiology kind of studies. So, and I forgot to tell you too, a lot of this stuff is banned in other countries. In fact, companies like Mars or M&M's, that company just announced that they're going to start changing over to natural colors and stop producing these horribly toxic, neurotoxic fake colors from gasoline. What most people don't know is that in China, that company has two production lines. One goes to America with petroleum-based ingredients. One goes to the rest of the world that doesn't have those ingredients. So now that they're switching over, all that means is we are now joining the rest of the world. Because in countries that are socialized, they don't want sick people. So it might be profitable to make people sick, but you don't want to pay for sick people. So what's screwed up is we get screwed. We literally even have more sugar in our sodas than in Germany or even Mexico. So other countries, the same products, we have different ingredients and even different amounts of sugar. And so far, the way that they did this, they helped kind of get rid of this in other countries, is they literally make them put warning labels on things like candy. If they contain American chemicalized ingredients, they have a warning label. And there's a couple examples in the slides. And so nobody's going to eat warning labels, kind of cigarette warnings on their candy. So people stop buying crap, and then they stop getting sick. So the same thing's true with like saccharin, sucralose, mannitol, any of those kind of like fake sugars that we've created. You don't want those. The best sugars that you want are the sugars that are just naturally occurring. So maple, honey, those are fine. You know, even cane sugar is probably the worst of the. Oh, just a minute here. Our cheat just fell here. There we go. That should work. Whoops. Okay. Sorry about that. So any of those fake sugars are messed up. So what about stevia? Stevia is a not a fake sugar. So it's basically you can grow stevia, and then you the leaves are really, really sweet, exponentially sweeter than sugar. And so, you know, you can then grind that up and make a sweetener from that. Now, stevia is non-toxic, but it doesn't mean it's really healthy. And that's because the neurochemistry of the tongue, it literally will trick the tongue into thinking that sweetness should be up here, not where honey, maple syrup, cane sugar are. And because of that, it leads to the same problem that we see with diet food, where people overconsume those calories. And that's a whole neurological peptide problem that happens with that. So you'll see that people that consume stevia all the time, it's not toxic. It's it's fine, but you will gain weight if you use it all the time, because it does mess up your interpretation of sugar within your taste buds signaling to the brain. But other than that, once in a while it's fine. Now, the one thing you got to stay away from is the stevia plus. And that's because with stevia, that's not good enough. So they'll add in stevia plus maltodextrin, which is then corn, which is then genetically modified ingredients in there. So we do the American thing, where we take ingredients that are good and then we basically poison them again. So maltodextrin, isomaltulase, and Rubiana, those are things you want to stay away from. So if you do stevia, do it once in a while, that's fine, and don't have crap in there with it. What about benzoic acid and sodium benzoate? So you'll see this ingredient in a lot of foods, even supplements, medications, juices. Dr. Pepper has that in there. And that benzoic acid and the sodium benzoate, potassium benzoate, anytime you see benz, B-E-N-Z, in an ingredient list, it refers back to benzene. And I'll tell you how you make this ingredient. Because sometimes food companies will say, well, it's a naturally occurring product, but that's not what they're using to make the product, although it does occur in nature. What they do is they take crude oil and they extract benzene, which is highly flammable, the same stuff you smell at the gas pump. They convert that to toluene, which is paint thinner, and then they convert paint thinner into benzoic acid, which becomes a dirt cheap poisonous preservative. So we could use citric acid to preserve stuff, we can use ascorbic acid to preserve stuff, or we could use paint thinner converted into benzene, benzoic acid or sodium benzoate. So that is an absolute you got to stay away from. In fact, even I have a textbook from 1929 called Anemia in Practice. And even in 1929, they say benzene causes myelodysplasia, which is leukemia, which is one of the leading cancers in children now in the United States, which is unacceptable. So if we have a nation where everybody's getting chromosome 12 mutated and getting myelodysplasia or leukemia, again, should it be a surprise? No, not if we consume a cancer-causing chemical such as that. So you really look for that one, and even some really healthy products, they still have it in there. Even at the health food store, a lot of times you'll see 10 products that are all just immaculate, they're great, and then they have one more that then has benzene in there. So propylgallate is actually another name for benzene. And then there's a couple more. In fact, Gallate. I'll remember it. Just a minute. The other thing is benzene called oxybenzone. And oxybenzone is the benzene, the gasoline, that they use to absorb UV rays in SPF lotions and sunscreens and that type of thing. So when you read or you see in the news where they talk about how a lot of our lotions and makeup and our sunscreen is actually more toxic, that's the chemical. And what's really messed up is if you look at the studies in the graphs from, say, 1930s to today, the amount, and this is typical of almost every disease that we have in the U.S. But so we look at skin cancer. Skin cancer up until the 1930s, very, very low amount of skin cancer, right? Because the sun does not cause skin cancer. Or if it does, it only hates Americans apparently, right? And only in the last 50 years. So we look at those studies and we say the epidemic of skin cancer doesn't exist in the 1930s. And then they use a chemical that's derived from benzene to protect us from the sun. And skin cancer, boom, doubles within the next few years. So then they take that chemical off the market because, drumroll, it causes cancer. And in fact, it causes too many cancers. So they took that chemical off the market and they added another benzene chemical in there. And then you see the same thing, a sudden increase over the next 5 years from this new, more toxic benzene. And then they replaced that chemical with oxybenzone in, I think, the 1960s. And then skin cancer went through the roof. And then we said the sun obviously causes skin cancer. Not the 4 different chemicals made from benzene that is, again, made from coal tar, which is the chemical that we use to cause cancer in laboratory settings back in the 1970s in Japan. So it's just ridiculous with that. So when you look at sunscreen stuff, stay away from SPF things. Stay away from any of the benzones. You want titanium dioxide, or sorry, you want zinc-based ones. And what's funny is, as a kid, we didn't really do a lot of sunscreen. I didn't, but I used the zinc on my nose. So it was always like neon, colors. That was kind of cool. But now with our daughters, we have 4 daughters, and 3 of those are redheads. And so, again, protecting them from getting burnt is an issue, mainly because they're so fair-skinned. But we just use Aubrey Organics with that. And so it's zinc-based, no toxicity. I'm not messing up her hormone system or causing cancer. And I'm getting the benefit that my wife wants from that. A couple other formaldehyde-releasing ingredients. These are the ones I was trying to remember. Is 1,4-dioxane. And 1,4-dioxane, sometimes you'll see that in lotions. If you go to Bath & Body Works, it's like a whole nightmare of lotions. Or nightmare of ingredients. Like maybe, 50% or more are made from petroleum. But it's also called polysorbate 80, which you might recognize a little bit more. And that you see a lot of times in food. That poly part refers to polycarbonate, which is plastic. So with that, we end up taking plastic. And it used to be a fake sugar mixed with, I think 80 was stearic acid or something like that. But that's not true anymore. They just use petroleum products to make that. DMDH, sometimes you'll see that. And then urea. You'll see that ingredient mostly in lotions. And back in the day, they used to use urea that was from, we make it, pigs make it. So they use pig urine. It's awesome, right? Rub a little pig urine on your face. So that's kind of gross. So nobody wants to do that. So we take formaldehyde and make it into urea. And then we rub formaldehyde on our face. So you got to watch out for that one. And then anything that's brominated. So when you look through the ingredients, bromine, iodine, fluorine, and chlorine are all on the periodic table and in a list of a row called halides. And halides all compete for the same receptors. So if you're competing with iodine to make thyroid, because thyroid really is just tyrosine with 3 or 4 little iodines on there. if you take bromine and you compete with iodine, then you'll end up with normal thyroid tests with patients that are obviously hypothyroid. So their brain starts slowing down, they get brain fog, they get memory loss, they start slowing down, their metabolism goes to crap because thyroid affects every single cell in the body. Same thing as if you chlorinate water. So as Americans, most of us just drink recycled poo water, right? But to kill all the bacteria in the poo water, to make it tolerable to drink, we chlorinate it. And in Europe, I think they use dichlorine or something like that, dichloride, and that's non-toxic. But in the U.S., we use chlorine by itself, and then that chlorine actually interferes with your thyroid. When you look at something like fluorine or fluoride, so we put that in toothpaste, but that as soon as you start brushing your teeth, that fluoride starts going to your thyroid, and it starts competing with iodine to make us dumber and fatter. And so, again, chlorine, bromine, brominated bread is what we actually use in America to make bread whiter and fluffier. And with that, we make a little tiny bit more profit, but by brominating bread, we literally make a dumber and fatter population. And to maybe bring it home with that is that if you take brominated bread and you try to sell that in places like Singapore, you could get 12 years in prison and a $500,000 fine because those populations don't want sick, fat, and dumb people. So they ban those ingredients and they put people in jail for using them. So in America, we're screwed only to the point where we don't know what we're doing. Once we know, once we start reading labels, once we start picking foods that are actually real, actual foods and not synthetic or chemicalized foods, then we actually make a great difference in our healthcare with that. And so our kids get sick less often. We get to think clearly. Our hormones don't get out of balance. We get to feel normal. And that's a very rare thing in America. 1 out of 5 people are on antidepressants. We don't feel good. And most people eat to medicate themselves, let alone most people are on medication. So we have to stop chemicalizing that, our family and our food. The other thing is xenoestrogen. And sometimes you'll hear this as xenobiotics. Xeno, with an X instead of Z, which is weird, actually means foreign. And then estrogen, so basically these are chemicals that we typically derive from petroleum that mimic estrogen in the human body. And so we use these as plasticizers and preservatives in our food. So with that, our body doesn't know the difference. And if you look at plastics, I'll give you an example. This here I pulled from the fridge, and so we'll go through those in a minute. This is ginger stir-in paste. Seems like an awesome thing. Ginger is a wildly beneficial thing. It's a COX-2 inhibitor, so it blocks pain and inflammation, just like Celebrex and Mobic, but instead of causing heart attacks like most synthetic COX-2 inhibitors do, this actually deplaques your arteries. But if you look at the little triangle, that plastic is number 7. Plastic number 7, 6, and 3 are the most estrogenic ingredient plasticizers that we can use. These literally mess people up. And that plastic number 7 then means the longer this stuff sits in here, you're getting ginger with poison at that point, right? So you're getting less pain and inflammation, deplaquing some arteries, but also causing cancer and hormonal problems. So why not just do ginger without plastic number 7? So that's that triangle that's in the bottom there. And oh yeah, I'll say that at the end. Okay. As far as the what? Questions?
What we can do, just keep recapping what we would do in the future.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you see these different plastics, these numbers, and I'll put them here. But these slides you can download, and the links in the feed. So all those numbers are plastics. They're all toxic. In the 1960s, they said they were inert. They didn't do anything to the body, and now we know that they are horribly detrimental to it. When you look at plastic number 7, that's what thermal receipts are. And so when you go to like Walmart or Dillon's and you touch that thermal receipt, it is coated with bisphenol A, that plastic number 7. And there's studies that show that if a pregnant mom has a boy, and all babies start as girls, and then they convert to boys. So ovaries descend into testicles, and breast tissue doesn't change. Uterus shrivels down, becomes prostate. But the study shows that if mom touches that receipt, there's enough estrogen to disrupt that conversion process, and it causes things like anal, genital malformations of that developing fetus, which is horrible. So, if you ever see me in the store, you'll notice that I'm the jerk that doesn't take my receipt. The other thing is parabens. Now, what parabens, typically you'll hear that in makeups, lotions, those kind of things. They're a synthetic preservative that is actually created from petroleum that messes up your hormones greatly. Now, while you'll see a lot of makeup and lotions are now paraben-free, guess what they did with the paraben? They sold it to food companies. So at Walmart, I was looking at the tortillas, kind of reading ingredients, and guess what's in tortillas? Makeup preservative parabens. So now, even the tortillas are messing people up, let alone because they're wheat and genetically modified corn. But now you have to worry about parabens in your food, which is messed up. Fragrances, these are from phthalates. Phthalates are plastic number 3. Typically these are ingredients where we used to take flower oils and make perfumes, and that would bind the water, eau de toilette, with the oil from the flower, and you make perfume or cologne, right? Now our cologne and perfume is just petroleum, and to mix oil and gas together we use phthalates, which are plasticizers that emulsify that, and those phthalates are horribly estrogenic. So anything that says parfum or fragrance that's synthetic is horrible for your immune system, and you got to watch out for those things. So if you do cologne or do perfume that is synthetic, well, spray it on your clothes, walk away, and then get dressed later with it after it diffuses away a little bit. So otherwise, you can take essential oils and you can look online for recipes and just make your own natural perfumes. And some of them are just awesome, like blood orange. Oh my gosh, that smells great. So not toxic again, right? The other thing with bisphenol A is plastic water bottles and other plastics too. You'll see even PETA in those. Typically, you want to stay away from plastic as much as possible. You're going to find things that are in plastic, like salad dressings. But you can also find salad dressings that are in glass. And so if you have the choice and the availability, always pick glass. And this is plastic number 7. So now you're getting estrogen with your salad and with your ginger here. And those of you join, these are not my foods. Not mine. One interesting ingredient too is plastic number 6. That's polysterols, which is, or polystyrenes, which is styrofoam. So while many cities are starting to ban, I think San Francisco already banned it, I think New York banned it, but they only banned it because of the pollution aspect. But styrenes are horribly estrogenic, and the way that you get the estrogens to release from those types of plastics or plasticizers is you put hot things in those. And so of course, that's what we put in styrofoam. So the more heat that you put in it, the more toxic it's going to become. Let's see. Oh, MSG. That's another one. Brominated vegetable oil, because the bromine messes with your thyroid, makes us dumber and fatter. But MSG too. Oh, we already talked about that. Decrease your brain by 8,000%. So a few other things in general, and we'll have more talks about this, but gluten. So you really, for like probably 75% of people's problems, if they get rid of modern wheat and dairy, most things just go away. And so that's one of those easy things to get rid of. In theory, you got to actually not eat the bread and stuff. And just kind of see how things go. And so a lot of times that becomes a very cheap and easy solution for people. Let's see. We want to make sure that we have time to go over these ingredients too and talk a little bit about them. Okay. So, all right. So let me, what did you have there?
Oh, just talking about letting them know that we are going to talk about what you can eat.
Okay.
We'll be able in our coming talks.
That's right. So today we're talking, our theme for this month is food is medicine. And so one of the things that we want to talk about for this second week, or third week maybe, is chemicalized food. The next week we'll talk about introduction to food as medicine. So we'll talk about the things that you can eat to actually reverse disease. And then the last one that we'll do in that series on July 26th is living food. And so we'll talk about, I think we'll even do a little demo of making kombucha, and we'll talk about making fermented vegetables, those kind of things. So there's actually foods that are probiotic, that make B vitamins, that keep you healthy and happy and energetic. So if you have questions too, as we're going through this, just let us know and let us know your name, and well, I guess your name's on there, but kind of where you're from and what your question is, and we'll address those too if you want. And right now I want to go through a couple things that I found in the refrigerator. So again, not my stuff, stuff from the other clinicians here. So this is Kraft Tuscan House Italian dressing. It's bold and rustic. I'm not sure how that applies to salad dressing. But in here, so we got water, vinegar, that's salad dressing, and oil. That's your basic thing. Now this has canola oil in here is genetically modified. Now organic canola is actually very healthy for you. It's 8 times more anti-inflammatory than olive oil is. But most canola, if it doesn't say organic, it is just genetically modified rape seeds. So they're actually more harmful. Balsamic vinegar, that's good. It has cheese cultures. So with that, you know, it's estrogenic problems there. But at least that's real food. And let's see, xanthan gum, that's natural. Now we get to polyethylene glycol. So polyethylene sutures are like plastic sutures. If we put a little fake sugar on there, we get polyethylene glycol, and that's PEG. And that is actually the same stuff that you get in Frosties at Wendy's. It's also what makes the difference between what can legally be called ice cream and soft serve. So Brahms makes ice cream, which has real ingredients. But Dairy Queen uses polyethylene glycol, which makes it not legally ice cream, it's soft serve. And let's see, alginate. Now alginate's the new thing that they're using instead of carrageenan. So a lot of people have carrageenan problems, which is kind of helps gellify stuff. And that's from seaweed. But again, when we extract things out and put large amounts to kind of mess with our food, we start seeing problems. So carrageenan is being kind of like on its way out, and they're replacing that with alginate. Now alginate is basically the same idea, but using algae instead. So not toxic, but we might see problems with it later on. Potassium sorbate, not so much of a good idea. So all in all, I mean, not good, right? What about yogurt? A lot of people think yogurt's really good. I grew up thinking yogurt's really good. And this one even says no aspartame. Oh, so it must be healthy, and it has a picture of a strawberry. So that must be good. So let's look at the ingredients here. So we have pasteurized milk, which of course is estrogen. Strawberries, holy crap, this has strawberries. Now, in the rest of the world, that's how you make things taste like strawberries, is putting strawberries in there. In America, we can take 40 different chemicals and make things taste like strawberries. So if you get a strawberry shake at McDonald's, it's not strawberries, it's chemicals. So I'm very excited. We have 2 real foods already. So then we get to modified cornstarch. Starch is just sugar. Sugar bound to, it's glucose bound to oxygen, bound to glucose, bound to oxygen. That's starch. So we have sugar, then we have sugar again, and then we have kosher gelatin. Gelatin just means ground up carcasses, which again, that's real food. That's like gummy bears. I mean, it's real. Now they use citric acid in here, which is awesome. So instead of benzoic acid, which is from gasoline, they actually use citric acid. Natural flavors, sometimes that means MSG. Sometimes it's okay. They have sorbate in there, which is causes a lot of gut problems. So on here, this is messed up. No aspartame, right? Aspartame's made from formaldehyde. But look what they have instead. Acesulfame, which is just another version of aspartame. So again, it is screwing us over and misleading us. Sucralose, which is a problem with gut problems too. And then red 40, which is really messed up. I mean, that again is one of those things that is neurotoxic to us, causes increases in ADHD, those kind of things. Vitamin A, and then vitamin D3. So, again, mostly just toxic crap. Now, you can buy yogurt that's real, you know. If we look at, let's see, we have some Coffee Mate. Now, coffee, there's good coffee, bad coffee, horrible coffee. Good coffee is once in a while you drink some coffee. Yeah, you enjoy coffee. Bad coffee is your hormones suck so badly you have to have coffee to survive. That's bad. So it's just masking your hormonal deficiency. And then horrible coffee is when you put a bunch of crap in there too. So let's look at this. This is Coffee Mate. It's French vanilla. Ooh la la. Huh? Right? So we have number 1 ingredient, sugar. That's why it tastes so good, right? And then hydrogenated vegetable oil. So hydrogenated basically means we break the double bonds of unsaturated fatty acids or fats. And that creates trans fats on here. In fact, let's see. So this one says no trans fats, but legally they can have 0.5%, I believe, per serving, and still call it trans fat free. And that would be about 30 grams in this. Now they use coconut oil, and that should be pretty good. Palm kernel oil, which may be okay. And then soybean oil, which is genetically modified, and corn oil, which is genetically modified. They use corn syrup, which is genetically modified. In fact, I have a book from 1910 that they used to use as a school textbook, which I might, if we have time, oh, there it is, read you a little section of that, which is amazing. This is what we used to teach kids in 1910 in the McPherson School District, just in kind of rural Kansas here. And it actually talks about high fructose corn syrup and tells kids it's horribly toxic for them. It actually causes what's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And at Harvard, I took a course through there on that and non-alcoholic steatohepatitis. And of course, the number 1 contributor to that is corn syrup. And we can literally do what alcoholics take 30 years to do to cause cirrhosis of the liver. We can start that process by 10 years of age just by this kind of crap in the U.S. Sodium casein is one of the most allergenic ingredients, just like whey protein is horribly allergenic for people. So they'll have these chronic problems for years and years, and no one ever suspects that, oh, I'm eating stuff that causes those problems. Potassium phosphate, that's fine. Natural and artificial flavors. So what are the artificial flavors? Petroleum products, right? And then mono and diglycerides. Now, it used to be fatty acids, but what they're doing is they actually can make those from petroleum now. And then it has aluminum in there. And so that you want to stay away from. So, crap, right? Now, we have a few dinners that I found in the freezer here. And we'll start with Evolve. Is this yours? Mm-hmm. All right, so I was very excited about this one. And lo and behold, it is actually holly. So, of course, it's going to be healthy. She teaches yoga here, so you'd kind of expect that. I'd be very disappointed otherwise. So this one has cooked brown rice. So it's brown rice, where white rice is just sugar. Brown rice is actually going to be full of fiber. And the fiber absorbs 80% of the sugar that's in the rest of the rice. And then that doesn't affect our blood sugar. That actually feeds our gut bacteria. And then it makes something called fructooligosaccharides, which people often buy as a supplement instead of just eating from their food. Seasoned chicken. Bell peppers, food, snap peas, water, has tamaris, and so tamari is organic soybean with no MSG, no benzene in there, no wheat, so that's pretty awesome stuff. Light brown sugar, honey, so that's where it's getting the sweetness instead of fake sugars. And then ginger puree, so same as this without the plastic number 7, and then garlic. So all in all, that's really great. That's real food. So this one, real food. So we now know we can make those with real food. Now another popular brand that patients ask about is Amy's brand. So you'll see that at health food stores too, Amy's. And sometimes they make, a lot of times at health food stores, there's what's called health food store crap or junk food. And so a lot of times people think, I bought it from the health food store, it's got to be healthy. But a lot of them sell crap that's just not toxic, it's just healthy crap, if you will. So in this one, they hid the ingredients. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this one, they start out with rice. Now this one has white rice in there. And so, but it's organic. And then they have mushrooms and water and peas and food. And then they have some cheese. So the cheese is just estrogenic, but at least real food. Sea salt. So with sea salt, you actually get like 40 to 80 other minerals with sea salt, real sea salt. So you don't want to buy iodized sea salt. You want to buy just sea salt, like Himalayan salt. All those different colors, Kalinamuck, black salt, bamboo salt, they're all full of all kinds of wonderful minerals for you. And then wild crafted porcini mushrooms. Yeah, that's pretty fancy. And some black pepper. So the only thing that's bad in this is a little bit of milk. So that's not too shabby either.
That's my cheat.
So then, no, we'll do that one last. So then we'll go to what my family growing up thought was healthy, and that's healthy choice, right? It literally says healthy choice. Now, the ingredient list on this thing is this long and tiny little print. So you know that it's going to be interesting here. The first ingredient is water, sweetener, refinery syrup, which means corn syrup, honey, so hey, it's got something real, some onions, some brown sugar. So like the first 3 ingredients in this thing is sugar. It better taste good with all that sugar. What is it? That's 9 grams of sugar, which is over 2 teaspoons per serving for that. And then it has chicken meat. What does that mean? That's weird. And natural juices. But it doesn't say chicken juices. It just says natural juices. So that's interesting. Salt, chicken fat, sugar, more sugar, corn and wheat gluten. And so again, that's one of the most allergenic things. So people have migraines, skin problems, eczema, psoriasis. You're going to see a lot of issues with that. It has whey protein in there, which is allergenic. Maltodextrin, which is genetically modified sugar. Yeast extract, which means MSG, so now it's killing your brain cells. Let's see, it has extractives of turmeric. So that may be good, because turmeric is a wonderful thing, but they should just have turmeric, not parts of turmeric in there. Modified cornstarch, which again is genetically modified sugar. Has some apple cider in there, which is, apples are some of the most toxic things. So when you look at Clean 15, Dirty Dozen, apples have up to 200 chemicals that are sprayed on them during their life cycle. So if it's not genetically modified apples, that's really bad. Sea salt, that's good. Black pepper, that's good. Xanthan gum, green beans. So food. Down to where we get to isolated soy protein, which is genetically modified kind of Frankenstein ingredient. Modified potato starch, which is sugar. Cornstarch, which is genetically modified, converting sugar. And carrageenan. So we talked about carrageenan just a little bit ago. And carrageenan is being taken away from most products, but you're going to still have things like this that have carrageenan in there. So that can be a problem for a lot of people. Soy lecithin, which again is genetically modified, has olive oil, finally, a good ingredient here. Maltodextrin, sugar, genetically modified sugar. Dextrose, which is sugar. This has like 7, 8, 9 different names for sugar. What's funny is when we get to the end, it has elderberry juice concentrate, which sounds pretty good. I think we just made this health food at this point. This is a mess. So this, even though it says healthy choice, this is a mess, right? And then the best one growing up was everybody and their mother, as they were getting fatter, was eating lean cuisine, right? It actually has the word lean in there. Has cuisine, sounds kind of good. But let's see what this bad boy has. So look at this ingredient list. It's at the whole side of the box. So I suppose we'll see the same basic kind of crap in there. So semolina, which that has gluten in there, which can be very problematic. Ground and formed meat. So that means meat gluing. So they just glued together meat to make it look like real actual slices of meat. And they do that with something called tissue transglutaminase, which is derived from pig's blood. And that is what's called meat gluing. And then they got starches in there, yeast extract, which is MSG, dextrose, which is sugar, soy, which is GMO, wheat, which is gluten, dextrose, which is sugar, maltodextrin, which is actually sugar plus sugar plus sugar, cheese, which is estrogen, modified Parmesan cheese. So estrogen as cream, natural flavors, spice. That's nice. I'll go buy some spice later. Onion powder, garlic powder, parsley, caramel color. Now, caramel color, that can be derived from wheat, corn, or even petroleum. So it kind of sucks that it doesn't tell you which one. There's whey protein in here, which again is allergenic. This is just like a dairy nightmare here, I guess. And then more cheese. How much cheese they have in this thing? And then water, sugar, soybean, which is genetically modified, modifying cornstarch, which is genetically modified. So flavors. It has flavors in it. I don't know what that is. Is this from the 1950s or something? So, lean cuisine, not healthy, right? Now, I almost died laughing when I found this in the fridge. And I love the name. So I was just like, oh, I'm going to love reading the ingredients to you guys on this one. It is a beef and bean burrito called The Bomb. So that might explain the explosion in the bathroom. So let's see what this bad boy has in here. For a lot of people in the morning, it's probably happiness. But so, hey, there's water. How's that? Water is the number one ingredient in a burrito. That's kind of odd. Beef. So that's, hey, it's got real beef in there. Beans. So that's right there. Beef and beans. That's you got your burrito. But we got to preserve it. So it has gluten in here, which is hydrolyzed, which then means genetically modified. Let's see. Has gluten in there. Has wheat gluten, corn gluten, partially hydrogenated soybean oil, which means genetically modified trans fats, cottonseed oil, which is one of the most polluted with pesticides during their growth, and jalapenos, that's real, and crushed red peppers, soy, which is GMO, guar gum, now that's natural, And then this is where it gets, okay, so you have your tortilla. So this is just like you make at home. This is nice because that's exactly the same ingredients I use at home. So then we have wheat flour, which is GMO. We have soybean oil, which is genetically modified. We have Vital wheat gluten, which I've never heard of, which is gluten. And then we have propylethylene glycol. So again, now we're taking plastic and fake sugar and putting it in a burrito. And it has cornstarch, which is GMO, aluminum, which can mess up your brain there, emulsifiers like guar gum, mono and disaccharides, or diglycerides, those can be made from petroleum. And the worst one on here is it has BHT, which is toluene, which is paint thinner. And that's how we're preserving it. So, the bomb. All right. And I think, oh, and then, did we look at this one though? Now this one too, so this one here is a really interesting one. So it's Mama Calendar's. And this one is even a worse nightmare than all the rest. Because I'll skip most of this stuff because it's the same basic crap. But you'll see the terms that we already talked to. So it has sodium nitrate in here. And nitrates are cancer-causing chemicals that we use to preserve meat because we glue meat together. The World Health Organization actually came out and said that eating American meat was more toxic than smoking for causing cancer in the U.S. It has BHA, which we said is toxic, BHT, which again is paint thinner, corn syrup, caramel, it has BHA again, has propyl gallate. So that's that ingredient we were talking about earlier that's made from benzene, which is gasoline. Yep. And so even though it says propyl gallate, it doesn't have the benz in there, but it actually is benzene. So we can just call things by different names, then we don't have to worry about it. And then it has a whole bunch of other horrible crap in there. But so out of the whole refrigerator, this is the absolute worst thing. The absolute worst thing out of all those things. So I kind of like that. And I hope you guys enjoy that because you could look at it when you're in the grocery store and you're looking at these things and they all are basically, little things that I can cook. What's real? What's actually toxic? And that makes a huge difference in whether you're healthy and you feel energetic or whether your whole family just feels like crap all the time and you don't have any clue why you're sick and your doctor says, no problem, we'll just put you on medication, and if that causes side effects, we'll put you on another medication, and then you end up on 10 medications, and then you come see me and I say, yeah, stop eating crap, and you shouldn't feel like crap anymore. So that's the simplicity of that. So this, I'm glad you guys joined us. This is our first live feed. And of course, now DJ's sad because that was his dinner tonight. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and post those. I want to let you know, too, that we have every Tuesday, we're going to try to do a live feed. So this was kind of our first time, which is kind of exciting. But we're going to talk about real food on the 19th. So the introduction of food is medicine. So real food, no crap. And then July 26th, we'll be talking about living food, and we'll talk about things like kombucha, which is the fastest growing sector of food in the United States for the last 2 years. So that's pretty exciting. Or a little weird, depending on where you're at with living food. And then keep a lookout for our posts on my Facebook page, and then also the Integrated Wellness Solution Facebook page. We'll be posting a lot of memes, research, some interactive stuff. And we'll try to have a little fun with this stuff too, because, it doesn't have to be an all downer, with this kind of stuff. And see, now we got a hand. And if you have any questions or anything, just go ahead and you can email me or Facebook message me. That'd probably be the easiest way based on this. And otherwise, I really thank you guys for joining us. If you have any ideas of things that you want to see us do or talk about in the future, let me know. You know, this is all about you guys and what you guys want to know. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great night. Thanks. And now I got to figure out how to do